Just 50 kilometres or so from Pattaya lies a vast industrial estate where they make lots of very useful things. Indeed, drivers in this hot climate wouldn't be without the product that's created here at Air International Thermal Systems, an Australian company working at the Hemarat estate. No one in Thailand is going to argue about the need for air conditioning, in cars too. And there's a very big concern in the vicinity of Pattaya that makes air conditioning for cars. The general manager, Nick Duke, is here with me now, and that's exactly what this company does, is it not?
Air International has been in Thailand since 2008. So I'd been here previously working for another business and had the opportunity to join them just as they were ramping up in the volumes. So I thought it was a good opportunity, obviously a product with a future in the automotive industry in Thailand, which has been booming for the last few years.
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, although we're not terribly aware of it, we don't see the factories, most of us.
Yes.
But there's a lot of automotive building here, isn't there? And they all need air conditioning units.
Yes, well, so most of the main automotive assemblers are already present in Thailand, and more of them are coming in every year now. Right. So yes. GM and Ford and Toyota and some of the other Japanese companies have been here for many years already. Yeah.
This company, however, rumour hath it, started to suit one man's need. His car didn't have an air conditioner a long time ago.
Yes.
What's the background to that story? And where
well, it's a very interesting story. So in 1967, an engineer by the name of Owen John in Australia was frustrated at the fact that his Jaguar, imported Jaguar, didn't have any air conditioning unit on it. So being an enterprising sort and a technically gifted engineer, he made his own, designed his own. And then as he took his car in for a service at a dealer, the dealer noticed it and obviously thought this would be a good idea for other Jaguar customers in Australia. And that was the start of the business, making units for import vehicles. And then it grew, and several years later, the first real commercial contract came along with Holden in Australia, making actual air conditioning units for their assembly vehicles down the line.
So once it was available, the need was apparent, it would seem.
Absolutely, yes, yes, and I think it's more and more now. I think it becomes increasingly difficult to find a car without it.
Yes, exactly. That indicates then that under the bonnet of a car there is plenty of room to put an air conditioning unit.
Yes, absolutely. Behind the dashboard, it's quite a large unit. It's a big portion of the space behind the dash, but between the dash and the engine area there is basically an air conditioning unit. Depending on the vehicle, it'll be split into different parts. If you have a 1-zone or 2-zone cooling in the vehicle, or even a unit at the back. Some of the more luxury vehicles now have a cooling unit also at the back or in the roof. There are many different configurations now, yeah.
You're building things on the other side of that wall, aren't you?
That's right.
What part of the unit is that?
The evaporator. So it's mainly an aluminium-based unit, which involves a number of production steps. Through stamping and then assembly of the components. And then the key element is the brazing furnace, which basically you go from lots of items packed close together to actually melting the surface of the aluminium so that it becomes one solid unit and doesn't allow any leaks of the refrigerant as it goes through it. We also have a technologically advanced surface treatment line here, which allows us to have superior corrosion resistance, bacterial resistance. Basically, the air that's coming out of the ducts from the air conditioning into the passenger's face or area is coming straight off the evaporator. So you need to be especially careful to make sure you don't have any buildup of anything that could harm the passenger. So basically, these are the coils of aluminium that we use to make our fin, which is the key element of the evaporator. We have a spare one here waiting to change over so that we take less time when we change the coils. So it's decoiled through here, then goes through a forming unit, and then comes out at the end as a finished fin. So the fin comes here along the process, gets assembled with the other components of the evaporator core, clamped together, and then it goes on to the furnace for brazing.
Nick, how is that heat generated for the furnace?
So these are electrical furnaces. So it has a series of basically heaters through the furnace inside the controlled area where it maintains a certain temperature profile as the parts go through. It'll take about 45 minutes for the parts to go through the furnace completely, from beginning to end. You'll see here, he basically puts the pipes in.
Is it about timing?
It's about timing to get to the right temperature. It's about making sure that you distribute the filler material all around the joint, and then a little bit of post-heat to make sure that it's properly melted in, and then leaving it. Yeah. This is probably one of the most skilled processes in the plant to get it right. So they go through a lot of training, and they have frequent evaluations to make sure that they're still maintaining the level of quality. Basically, this is our surface treatment line. The product will go through a series of baths here to improve its resistance to corrosion in the vehicle and to improve its useful life for our customers. We believe it's an important part of our technology, and it allows us to manufacture a world-class product.
The manufacturing process ends in a quiet and spacious area for ultimate crucial testing.
So this is where the sub-assemblies will come to the final HVAC line. They'll do several processes around the line. Then it comes to a final testing chamber where they'll test for function of the HVAC and also the blower motor noise. And then it has a final visual inspection process before it goes into the box off to the customer. There's a big market in Thailand. In fact, most of what we do here is for export. So we export the whole air conditioning unit back to Australia for the Ford Falcon model in Australia. And then the rest of the business that we do is the main component, the evaporator, which is the actual cooling unit within the HVAC case, which we export to our sister companies for the final assembly in China, US, Mexico, India, and in future to Europe as well.
Air International is happy to be in Thailand and other places, but Thailand suits you in terms of workforce and space for factories, and what else appeals to you?
I think one of the key elements when we set up here initially was geographic as well. We are, let's say, a manufacturing hub for the evaporator product, which is then required by our other sister companies around the world. So Thailand, due to its location, was ideal for supply to China, to Europe, to the US, and back to Australia as well. And also, the Thai government has free trade agreements set up with all of those different areas. So it also had a benefit from that side. And the Board of Investment in Thailand has some incentives for foreign companies to invest. That's why there's been so much growth in Rayong province, because it was part of the highest promotion zone. So we had the largest incentives from a tax point of view to set up here.
Obviously a very successful one.
Yes.
And of course Thailand, or Southeast Asia, a wonderful area to be testing air conditioning units.
Sure, sure.
If they work here, they'll work anywhere, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. With the humidity and the heat,
Yeah.
it's the absolute sort of the most difficult conditions to have the unit working properly. So yes, absolutely.
So Air International, here to stay and expanding by the sounds of it.
Yes, absolutely. Expanding in Thailand and also globally. Yeah.